You don't expect a story about conservation to start on a Hollywood movie set. But for Marlice Van Vuren, this was just one moment in the rich and varied tapestry of her career. It involved a cheetah, actor Angelina Jolie, and one very naughty Jack Russell.
So I was called in, and like, who's dog pooped on the carpet, and I'm the only one on the whole set with a Jack Russell with me. It's like, me, so sorry. I think I poop. No, for all people's place on set, you go poop in Angelina's caravan.
This incident was one of those strange, chaotic film set events that you can never predict. But it's exactly these kinds of moments that can change the course of our lives.
So we became good friends because of poop. But it's amazing how your story have a river and it flows, and it eventually you have rapids, and you need the rapids to change direction.
For Marlice, those rapids would carry her far from movie sets and into the wilds of Namibia.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Ordinary Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Chris Barron, and each week I sit down with a guest whose job is far from ordinary. We're going to explore how they got there, what it's really like behind the scenes, and then I'll ask them to relive the single most unforgettable experience of their career. Before we dive in, a very quick announcement, just letting our audio listeners know that these episodes are also available to watch on YouTube if you prefer to see these conversations. I also craft visualizations of the cold opens that are kind of fun to watch as well. If you already watch these on YouTube and you like the format, please let me know and I will keep working to improve them. Alright, so on to this week's guest. Marlice Van Vuren is one of Namibia's most remarkable conservationists. Together with her husband Rudy, who's also a medical doctor, she co-founded Nankuse, a wildlife sanctuary and foundation dedicated to protecting Namibia's wildlife and supporting the country's indigenous communities. At Nankuse, every day brings something new for Marlice. It could be rescuing injured young leopards, or raising baby baboons, running anti-poaching patrols, or even hosting community clinics for the San Bushmen. But Marlice's story begins long before Nankuse. She grew up on her parents' wildlife sanctuary in central Namibia, side by side with the indigenous San people, which are one of the world's oldest living cultures. Their language is actually her mother tongue before either Afrikaans or English. That childhood shaped her view of nature, of humanity, and what real coexistence looks like. And as you heard in that intro, her life has taken her from Hollywood movie sets to running one of Namibia's leading conservation organizations. Yet the turning point came not from fame or adventure, but from tragedy, the loss of a San child that changed everything and set Marlice and Rudy on a lifelong mission to make a difference. You're listening to No Ordinary Monday. Let's get into the show. Marlice, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm very well. So just tell us where you're calling from at the moment.
I'm calling from Namibia, in the southern part of Africa, just above South Africa.
Amazing. So the last time that we saw each other was I was filming for a documentary called One Strange Rock for National Geographic, and it was one of the most amazing shoots I actually have in memory. Mainly because we were filming with the cheetahs. I'm not sure if you remember. Do you remember us filming that?
Yes, I remember that.
It was incredible because, we were filming this amazing story about predator-prey, evolution, all that kind of stuff. But we were out with you with your cheetahs. I think it was Shiloh and Odyssey. And we had them doing with the lure training, and then we took them out for a hunt. The most memorable stuff is when we were filming the sort of more intimate stuff in their paddock, and just they're just like big cats, and I couldn't get over the purr and just their tender nature and everything. But I mean, just for you, who's working with them all day, every day in some cases, like, does that ever get old for you? Spending time with those cheetahs?
No, never gets old. I wish I could do it, the whole day. They are so sweet, and I would actually say personality-wise, or species-wise, they fall on the cats, but for me, and they purr, but behavior, they're dogs. they trust you. They are, no, cats are, I'm so important. That's why you can take care of me. And they the opposite. So yeah, but I wish I can do it every day and the whole day. It never gets
Yeah.
old.
And we were just filming, maybe filming one of the cheetahs, and then the other one was just sort of curious and following us and would sort of sit next to us, like you said, just like a dog, and just sort of, I think he would even start licking the cameraman at one point, and so it was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're so
And
lovable and so sweet.
did you raise them from cubs, those particular ones?
Yeah, Charlotte, Audie, and Wonder are siblings, and I raised them. They were like a few days old. They came out of
Yeah.
a conflict situation, and they were quite tough babies because several times I've almost lost them twice, where they got sick and didn't
Oh,
drink
wow.
well, and then the tummies didn't go out as it's supposed to, and yeah, so it's every 2 hours up, and then you sit for almost a half an hour with the babies for the three of them to drink, and then I sleep maybe half an hour and a half, and then I'm up again. But it's so worth it, and yeah, I really love it, and it's a privilege to be able to do something like that.
Yeah. And just give us a sense of what a typical day might be. I know you guys do amazing, as I said, you do rehab, you do anti-poaching stuff, you do research. I mean, I'd love to know a lot of people listening love animals, I'm sure. So what kind of animal stories have you guys kind of experiencing over there?
Okay, let me just give you a summary of this week. I think that would be easier to say in a normal day in our lives. There's not one single day is the same, not one. And then for all these years, it's never been the same day. So this week, I got two baby jackal in, and they run about 2 weeks old.
Oh my
So
God.
it's babysitting again, like bottle feeding and making them rub their little butts and make sure that they pee pee and do their thingy. Otherwise, they just blow up and pop.
So that's what the
So
mother would
it's
do in the wild, right?
yes, exactly. So I've got
Wow.
a Jack Russell. Her name is Nati. She does help me raise all these babies. She's raised those cheetahs that you met.
You're kidding me.
And she is so happy with these two puppies. So she does the licking, but somebody has to give the milk, and that's Moa.
Yeah.
So I'm a jackal mommy for at least a year now.
Oh
And
my
then we got
God.
a baby leopard in. She comes from the north. The farmers found her. They don't know if, and the farm where she was found, they don't hunt. They are
Yeah.
predator friendly people. And they found her. They think her mummy must be shot. So she's small, and those little ones that has to stay. Mom go hunt and then come back. And for 10 days, they were supporting her in the field. Mommy never came back. So she came in, and she's going to go through a long process of rehab
Yeah.
because she still needs to be fed and she still needs to have more. But we've done it in the past. We've done the research, and um, about 90% of them can go back into the wild. Just
Yeah.
not in an open ecosystem. And she needs to be fully grown before she goes because we need to collar her.
Hmm.
So that is and then we had a very exciting day yesterday. We had delegates all over the world, indigenous people from Chile, Canada, Peru, Kenya, South Africa, um, from all over. And then Himbas and Zunchmas and Mkhaus and Naros from Namibia. And the vice president was the Ministry of Education was the
Mm.
so that we can have a workshop on how do we bring indigenous knowledge back to the core of legislation,
Hmm.
and how do we protect the languages and make sure that we keep that alive. And that was
Yeah.
because I speak Tunchma, so that we were hosting that whole shebang, the hoo-ha. So it was amazing. And then today everybody started flying back to their countries and with all their translators. But and it was amazing. It was so this week was quite different. Next week is just anti-poaching. We do a workshop on anti-poaching, and we do a forensic course. If you do get to a poach site, how do you handle it as a crime scene?
So much, all the anti-poaching stuff and everything, like, is that still a big problem that you experience, or is it you've got it kind of under control now?
So for Namibia, unfortunately, it's increasing. It's not
Yeah.
declining. It's rapidly increasing, and it's because of our open spaces and the lack of people. That is one of our biggest, or the biggest benefit for a poacher, because these square kilometers with nobody on it, but for sure a rhino might be on there.
Yeah.
So they are using that. On Napuse properties, we've not had one poach. So we've had one attempt to come into the reserve, and that happened right in the beginning, and they've never tried again. But we are vigilant. We are 24 hours out there. We also make it vocal and make it public. Bring it on.
Yeah.
We've got canine, we've got equine, we've got drones, we've got gyro planes in the air. So that I do, there is days that I'm like, "Hey, I'm tired of just training. And then just give me one and I can chase him down and let the dogs bite him a little bit." But yeah, so especially when, there was yesterday another case not far from us where a rhino was killed. And when you get there, you're too late. You find a carcass, there's no more scent left. We can take the scent to where the people got out of a car and got back into the car, but you've lost the animal. And cases like that, it's heartbreaking. It's not nice and makes me. Luckily, I would never go. I go in fight mode, so
Mm.
I, I- I'm at this point that I can really tell you we are fighting hard in Namibia, and we do need the support. It is expensive. You can't sell the horns. You can't advertise it for tourism, y- and your cost is there. You need to protect them. You have to have a salary. You have to feed people. You have to have fuel. You have to have a drone and good clothes and boots, and sleeping bags. So all of that adds up. But at this stage, the base protection for us is to have 2 or 3 people on a rhino 24 hours.
That's a crazy amount of resources, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell just the way you talk about animals that you're extremely passionate about it. And, we were talking before, we did the recording, just your path sort of leading to this mission. And, you wanted to be a vet, you kind of went to university, you studied this, then you got into movies and stuff. Like, just tell us a bit about that part of your life.
Oh, yes. See, to go back a bit. So I wasn't the best kid in school. I'm dyslexic, so I can't read well. I struggled with reading, and at that time, when I was in school, you were dumb. There wasn't a title for it. I thought, okay, there's something seriously wrong with this kid. She can't read. And I struggled with maths also, but I managed to actually pass school. So our
Mm.
problem then started. What am I going to do after school? I wanted to become a vet my whole life. I said, I want to be a vet. I want to be a wildlife vet. I want to dart animals out of a chopper and all the nice stuff. But you need to be able to go to university, ne? And you have to be able to read well
Yeah.
and do good maths, which Moa couldn't do. So I did apply. I think they must have like, what is so? No, you're not gonna get in. I think they just looked at my application and started laughing. So my second big love was sport. I love sport. I've been on the national level very competitive in different sports, and then decided, okay, let's try sport. So I went for sport. I got in, not for my reading and my maths, for sure not, but for my sports. And I did sports science and psychology, and yeah, I knew Pretoria is not for me. That first week I hated Pretoria. I promise you, I hated it. I got lost so many times. every time I phoned home, they would be like, "Oh, they got a new baby, and how's this one doing?" And at that time, you didn't have FaceTime and emails. You had to phone, and hopefully somebody answered. And yeah, it wasn't nice. So I dreaded the university. I hated it. I tried it over. But anyway, came back in a December holiday. Our summer holiday for our year-end holiday was a month. And I got home and my dad said to me, there's a Warner Brother movie that's now in Swakopmund. And I want to get one of our cheetahs to play one of the main roles in this movie. And it's about this little horse and a bushman
Hmm.
girl and that became friends, and then they were this German settlers and blah blah blah. And the cheetah was the predator in the movie. And he's hunting this poor little horse as the horsey grows up. And the problem is the people that's doing the animal department and the filming were all Americans. And
Hmm.
the cheetah's name was Hooters, and they couldn't pronounce his name. So they were calling him
Yeah.
Hooters. Now you
Oh yeah.
Hooters and Hooters.
Yeah.
So he didn't listen. Then I would call him Hooters, Hooters, and he just go past them,
Ignoring.
and
Yeah.
it didn't work. So my dad said, "And I'm not going to give him to them. They can't even call his name correctly. You have to go with." I said, "Okay, I'll go with." So I went with to Swakop, and I had to train the cheetah because they couldn't talk to him, and he didn't listen to them, and he knew me, so I loved it. I said, "Okay, this is what I want to do." So I went into the animal training filming, and for almost 6 years after that, where I've
Wow.
done real commercials from the VW ad to Suzuki Grand Vitara, you name it. There was
Yeah.
the perfume ad with Shakira. I had to body double for her, and Dennis Quaid, and you name it. I've done everything with so many
That's
celebrities
great
now.
on the CV. Body
And
double for Shakira and stuff.
Shakira, well, I'm much bigger than her. She's like tiny, and I was so worried they're gonna ask me to dance like her, because then I can't. I'm like, oh, quits. That's gonna be. I can shake my hips, but to do what she does, I'm gonna dislocate something. No
Yeah.
way. So I'm like, thank God they didn't ask me. I just
Yeah.
have to look at the cheetah. The cheetah has to walk up to me, and then I have to, yeah, walk around the cheetah. That I can do,
Yeah.
and shake my hips a little bit, pretend I'm dancing without music. But anyway, so
Wow.
that's how I got into the filming industry, and um, done everything, trained everything from an elephant to I've traveled everywhere with photographers to Mexico to Antarctica to had to work with jaguars, and it was just amazing. I loved it.
Wow.
I love to do it still every day. I love that, to get into the like I can't explain it to you. It's like you read the animal's behavior to see, okay, is he getting it or not? Is he comfortable by doing this? And the award of getting the animal to do it, but with just no fences, no leashes, uh, and it's not wildlife filming. This is
Yeah.
controlled area, controlled sets where you build a set and you
Yeah.
need to get a lion from point A to B. A fully grown male lion with all the protection,
Oh my
security, and
God.
risk. So I
And
loved it. It's a nice
and
adrenaline rush.
but you didn't do like it's not like you studied this at university and when this is something that you're kind of like, do you think it's something that people are born with or something that people develop over time, or what is it that makes it special?
And I've worked with so many people over the years with that was in the filming industry. It's something
Hmm.
that you have to have that sixth sense for it. You can't teach somebody that. It's almost like common sense. You're born with common sense or not. Then sorry,
Yeah.
disappoint some
That's
people.
yeah.
I really don't think it's something you can teach people. You
Mhm.
can look at a situation and you can figure it out without pushing the animal too hard. and to sense when something is going to be wrong, something is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
That's some intuition, and
Yeah.
there's no textbook that you can read that will then teach you that. There's nothing. You have to be in a situation to be able to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're doing the movie stuff, obviously that's where you met Angelina Jolie
Yeah.
and all those guys. How was that?
It was amazing. I had a big laugh with her a few years ago, and I said, "Can you remember us? I put flies on your face for it was a week, and then my dog pooped on our carpet." So I was called in. I'm like, "Whose dog pooped on the carpet?" And I'm the only one on the whole set with a Jack Russell with me. It's like, me. So sorry. I pick up poop. No, for all people's place it tense. On set you go poop in Angelina's caravan. But anyway, so we became good friends because of flies and my dog, and because of poop. But
Yeah.
it was yeah. If you connect the dots, it's amazing how your story have a river and it flows, and it eventually you you have rapids, and you need the rapids to change direction. And
Yeah.
yeah, if I ever did become a vet or didn't get bullied because I couldn't read or write well, my life wouldn't have ended up where I am now. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm very happy
Absolutely.
actually.
Yeah. You mentioned rivers, your life is a flowing river, and then these rapids are these sort of like inflection points in some cases. And that takes us really nicely to the sort of, I ask every guest to come on the show and tell a sort of significant, monumental, sort of unforgettable story. I wonder if you could sort of just, take us back to the beginning of that story and take us from there.
So I think our lives, myself and Rudy, started. So we were newly weds. My dad passed away a month after we were married. He got Congo fever, and 6 days later, he died. And then my mom
Wow.
got sick, and she laid in isolation for almost a month with Congo fever. She survived it.
Wow.
Um, and just the rapid started the minute we got married. It was almost like, okay, what's going on here? We have to have a talk here. I thought it's going to be this nice fairy tale, and now suddenly you take the most important person in my life was my dad. I have a really good relationship with my mom, but my dad was
Yeah.
my stability. Suddenly
Hmm.
he's gone. And then my mom is sick, and I thought, okay, I'm going to lose her. And then the wave started, and our lives changed then after my dad passed away. I realized, listen, Harnas is not um, your alpha and your omega. This is where you grew up. The sanctuary is not everything. You have to spread your wings. Otherwise, I would have been stuck there, and I would
Hmm.
have been just focused on Arnas and like this the most amazing place. And then on weekends, we lived in Windhoek. On weekends, we would go to the farm because really knew he will lose me alive if I don't get out of Windhoek and in the veld and back with baboons and and
And the
play
felt is
be
is
with
just for people who don't know, is like the bush, the
my
wild,
veld.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We will in the movie we say veld. It's field veld. So in the bush
Yeah.
to get back in the bush and just be with the sun people and speak Zooms and not worry about time and get dirty and any like that disconnect once every weekend we had to go back into the bush and this one specific day and then the word spread that there's a doctor. So suddenly all these sun people were bringing their patients and sick kitties and to my parents' farm, and I would translate, and we started packing boxes of medicine during the week, and then on
Mm.
weekends we would see them. And one Saturday morning, there was a knock on our kitchen door, and we were having coffee and biscuit. We say it's a rusk that we dunk in our coffees, and that's breakfast. And then this poor lady was standing there, very skinny, some lady, for baby, and She asked for help. We looked at her hospital cards. So in Namibia, patients don't have patient files with your doctor. You have a hospital card, it's like a little flip file. And every doctor that sees them or state clinic would write in it, and the treatments and diagnosis will be written in it, and they take that with them. So we
Mhm.
opened the little booklet and saw that the baby's been seen by a state hospital and clinic 3 times before she actually brought the baby to Rudy. And Rudy gave the baby one look. He said, "You know what? This baby's not going to make it. I think we're already too late. We have to get an ambulance out now to meet us halfway on the road
Mhm.
and get this baby on oxygen and on a drip." And I had such a, it was for me now, after years later, I try to remember, was it a boy or a girl? And I can't tell you. There's certain things that I cut out of the scenarios. I can't remember how I got from the ward out to the car. I remember when I was outside with the baby, but in
Mm.
between something was lost. And yeah, I think it's amazing how our brains work just to cut out
And
certain things that we don't want to remember.
and Rudy, obviously being a doctor, he took one look at it. Was there something about the child that he could? What was it about the child visually that he said it's too
Well,
late?
the baby was bloated, very like so swollen that the fingers were swollen, the eyes, and the breathing was shallow. There was a very, very faint heartbeat. So he just, yeah, we tried to put a drip up and we couldn't even find a vein. And then
Wow.
we found the ambulance in the nearest town called Gebabes. That's 100 kilometers away from my parents' farm. We started driving. Ambulance never came from the front. We reached the town, and then the mom went with us. And when we got to the hospital, the mommy just handed me the baby, and she said, you take my kid in, take my baby in." So we rushed in, and then it was a Saturday, very relaxed. Everybody was on lunch, and it was this very relaxed atmosphere. And we were put in a queue which we ran past. I remember the hospital when my dad was treated. He had a plane crash a few years ago before that, and he had
Yeah.
severe burns. I knew the hospital. Said, I know casualties that direction. So we just ran past everybody. So you can imagine what mayhem we caused. Strangers running past and didn't even listen to the nurses. There's a doctor on call. We didn't even listen to him. Straight
Yeah.
to, and then really put the baby on oxygen, try to put a drip up, and we got a drip up. But the baby passed away on the table in our arms, in our hands. And we had to walk out of that hospital, and then with doctors and nurses screaming at us, "Who are we? What are you doing in the hospital? You're in a state hospital." And he handled that very well. I remember very well I was screaming like a lunatic. And the Van der Merwe in me, my maiden surname is Van der Merwe, came out. I lost it, screaming like a crazy person. And anyway, got to reception, and then the nurse just said, "Oh, don't worry, it's just another one." And
Oh
that
God.
was the flip in both of us. I remember Rudy, when he's worked in casualty and got the Turine in South Africa, and he's seen much worse than I can imagine. And that day, I saw my husband break, because you don't expect a baby. That was in 2001 that that little one died. You didn't expect it to happen. You know, it's a country that is only at that stage. I think we were 1.8, 2 million people of dying of
Mm.
hunger, because it was Kosi Walker. The baby was so malnourished that the baby died of malnourishment. And it's still happening today. But that day, when that happened, I'm actually emotional. So when that happened, we decided, well, the decision was made for us. Our
Yeah.
river went shook, took a turn for almost a 360, well,
Completely
180
different
degrees
direction.
for sure.
Yeah.
And we had two choices. We either now say to the mom, "Oh, good luck. We're gonna pray for you," and she doesn't have money to buy a coffin. She doesn't even have money to get back to where she came from. And then
Yeah.
say, "Okay, we've done our little bit of good," and then feel good because we helped her to bring her baby to the hospital not in time. And then write numerous letters to the government and complain about healthcare. What will be what will be the change in it, and how long will it take, and how many kids has to die? And both of us grew up with parents who are always pushing us to say, if a problem comes, you come up with the solution.
Mhm.
And we looked at one another and said, okay, so what are we going to do about this? And the decision was made. We're going to see what we can do to change the Zunzma people and their livelihood. And we started a clinic in the east of Namibia where we saw people on a Saturday out of a box. And we got Jan in with first donor. And he's still the biggest donor. Him and his wife, Tannie Tineke, they helped us to buy this empty building in this tiny little town where the most some people were living. And everybody was saying, why would you buy a building and give them healthcare? You're going to be
Yeah.
bankrupt in a few
Yeah.
months. Or we said, we're gonna make money out of something to support this. Don't worry. So we started writing articles in the newspaper, and Rudy was playing for Namibia in the World Cup. At that year, he actually played for two sport codes in 1 year of the World Cup. He's still the only
What?
person, and he made the Guinness Book of Records, and he's the only person still that has been that has accomplished this. Um, but so we wrote
What were the
articles that
sports? Just out of curiosity.
he played
Which sports were?
rugby and cricket. He played rugby and cricket in the same year for Namibia. So and they had to fly him. He had to fly from Zimbabwe to Australia to play cricket, and then he has to fly back to Zimbabwe to play a rugby game. And it was amazing to see. But he deserves it. He's one of those gifted people, but most hardworking person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but
Incredible.
anyway, we write articles and we were challenging people to donate on every try or wicket or uh,
Yeah.
boundary that's hit by somebody, one of the teammates. And then this a friend of ours, his dad read it, and he said, "Please cut this tourist that might be interested in it." And he introduced us to Jan Verberg. And Janus Praat is now one of the partners, and Jan came on board. And from there on, it was history. He bought the building. A year later, he came back and he said, "What can I do now?" We said, "Can you give us money so we can employ a full-time nurse so that she can
Yeah.
see the patients during the week and we can do the serious cases on the weekends?" And he gave us money. We stretched that salary over 3 years. And Anna Daris is still there, and she turned 80 now. She's still
Oh
at the
wow.
lifeline.
Amazing.
So she's a Mother Teresa at the clinic.
So this donor he's a philanthropist or a businessman
He's a
or
for Yeah, he's a Dutch philanthropist. He's in construction in the Netherlands, and he
wow.
started Nyapusa with
Amazing.
us. And then after that,
Yeah.
3 years later, he said, "Okay, what can we do now? How do we employ people? How do we get them out of that area?"
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
Zakuse Lodge started.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. This is why we gave the place such a strange name. I mean, it's not good for tourism to give a name that nobody actually can pronounce. But yeah, so it's got a German version and the English version and the French
Yeah.
version, Natose and Nakuse. But for us, that decision was made that day when that Pami, when we walked out of that hospital, and she said to me, Naamku sê ek kan nie tosse gaan neem sê. And when we sat at the lodge, and Rudy said to me, "What do you think the lodge name would be?" And I said, "You know what? If it wasn't for that baby that died, we wouldn't have been here. And so let's use the mom's last words and use that." And she said, "God will always look at you, but God will always protect you. You have to do something with it."
Wow. And just that, because you said it in the dialect, and just repeat that again for us slower, so I can, and then the English version after that, because it was amazing.
So, Naamku sê te kan nie meer sê. If it was slow enough. Naamku sê te kan nie meer sê.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're
So
you're fluent in that dialect, is it?
yeah, it's my first language. I actually spoke
Yeah.
before I spoke Afrikaans.
Amazing. And I guess you grew up with the San people, right?
I grew up
since
with
you were
them.
born.
They're still my best friends, and yeah, it's my family. They're really honest people from the bush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that lives with this and not and with pure hearts and intentions. Yeah. So yeah, and that's how it all started. Sorry.
Yeah, so this all started from this one experience with this tragedy of this little girl,
Yeah.
and now you've got this, big organization. You've got obviously a very wildlife focused aspect. You've got a very, humanitarian focused aspects of conservation, humanitarianism. Like, how do you? I mean, it's kind of easy to say now because you're, this big successful thing, but along the road, I mean, there must have been challenges and speed bumps and, all kinds of things.
No, there was days that we didn't even know how we're gonna feed the animals that are in Rio. We didn't have money to buy food for them, and then the donation would come in, and
Wow.
we don't have money. We can't pay you a salary. And people would say, "But I don't want a salary. I would just do it so that I can have board and accommodation, and if you can start paying me, then I'll accept it." And we only got a salary, myself and Rudy, maybe 10 years ago.
Really? Jeez.
Yeah, but it was Rudy had to stay, and he's still in practice to make sure that we can survive. And we've never had not one single day that we said, "Okay, we are in serious trouble." There was always a plan. Always a plan. We have at least 5 plans for one thing. We never just have one plan, and if that fails, you go, "Oh." You said, "Oh,
Yeah.
damn, okay. What's the new plan?
What's next?
Make a plan. What's next?"
Have you ever even sort of thought about even like a ballpark of how many animals that you've helped or how many people that you've helped over the course of Nankuse?
Yo, that's a good question. No, I think animal-wise, it's gonna be. We work with around about 800 farmers on conflict calls. But animals were helped. I mean, I've raised around about 300 baboons that slept with me in my bed, had nappies on, and has gone through the process. I've raised almost 300 baby baboons.
Yeah.
And then a lot more other smaller things. So I can't tell you if one species at 300. I think the bulk figure
Thousands.
is going to be quite big. Yeah.
So I guess it's you
And
personally, it
patients, I
could
don't.
be thousands. And then
Yeah,
Nankuse would even be more than that.
yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
And then people in the same, because obviously it's two sides to Nankuse. You've got a humanitarian side as well.
Yeah, so for the humanitarian side, that we have figures. So we started in the clinic in 2003, and up to now we would see roughly 5,500 patients a year for free on basic health care.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So in 3 meals a week, and we go plus minus 50 to 70 meals out per day, 3 times a week.
And this is
from the day
basically
that
because, the places where the San Bushmen live are so far from big cities and towns. It's very hard for them to sort of get any help and that kind of stuff, is it?
yeah, and there's a few factors that plays a role. So you've got a group of people they don't have land, so they're not
Mm,
allowed to go on farmland to go and collect felt food or food or
mhm,
hunt for survival. So they're stuck in the middle of, okay, so they need to earn money to survive, but don't, they didn't go to school. Most of them are alcoholics and
mm,
drug addicts. So it's this vicious circle. The kids are born in that and they think this is normal and they just stay there and they go into
yeah,
prostitution and drugs. And then just everything you would give them, even if it's a paracetamol, they'll take it and go sell it for alcohol.
yeah.
So it's a uh, mentally, I can't say sick, poor, very poor people, mentally
Mhm,
and physically.
mm,
And now that we've been there from 2003 up to now, we've made a massive change on moral values and education, and
good.
because it's a mindset that you have to change. But you can't just start in school. It
Yeah,
They don't have moms and dads, or they get beaten up at home, and so you have to change that. So it's a whole community that are now changing slowly. In
yeah. It's
we're seeing,
generational, isn't it?
yeah, you can see the children of the kids that we've helped. There's a difference. Yeah. So, but it's an ongoing battle, and yeah, that does break me sometimes. But it's much easier to work with animals. Animals is an open book, and it's uh, the more I work with people, the more I love animals. And I, to be totally honest, because it's draining, it's emotionally draining, and with animals, it's one step forward, maybe one step back, but not always. You see them grow, and they fight, and they stick to it, and they don't fall back. With people, as one step forward, 10 steps back sometimes, and they fall back in all terrible habits that yeah, so it's these days that I think, yes, I didn't sign up for this. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. And cry myself to sleep because I just don't see the change quick enough. Yeah, you get disheartened and demotivated. But yeah, luckily we live in the bush. So when
Hmm.
you walk out your house, you get energy and you get recharged
Nature
and
therapy.
nature therapy. And I just like, okay, I get it. I know it's not going to be easy. Nobody said it's going to be easy. And if we stop now, we are a lifeline to a community, and we can't stop.
Yeah,
And I come at that decision. So yes, that is my toughest part as people. It's not the animals. Animals, I worry about different things. Survival, are they hot? Did they get a meal? Are they still fine in the field, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Not,
yeah.
oh, I hope they didn't, get back into drugs and all of that.
The
And why
problems
didn't they
are,
go to school? It's totally
yeah,
different.
very, very complicated. Yeah, hugely complicated. But yeah, I mean, just on a larger picture, you can tell that, the conservation humanitarianism, why is it so, I'm going to get into the sort of the, why should people get into this kind of thing? If people want to follow your footsteps, why is it so important for people to join this mission? Whether it's, not necessarily Nankuse, but just generally
Yeah.
conservation, it could be anywhere in the world.
I think uh, I think the question people have to ask themselves is, what is my purpose? What's my purpose in life? Some people never get it.
Hmm.
Um, but if you don't ask the question, how can you know what to look for? So, and you have to search for something to fuel. purposeful, to not just be an ordinary person, 8 to 5 job, and life flies by. And then what did you do? Is there anybody that's going to remember you afterwards? Are you leaving a legacy behind, even if it's a tiny? How many people's going to come to your funeral? Just something like that. And I was lucky to have my purpose brought to me and made a decision at the age of 24. It's tough.
Yeah.
I could have walked away, but I listened to that drive in myself to say, you have to make a difference. It's not, and where do I start? I think that is the biggest question to everybody. Where do I start? How do I get
Yeah.
involved? I would love to do this, but where do I start? Start by just in your tiny circle. Stand out tomorrow, say one good thing to somebody, give them a compliment, start greeting people, put your phone off, and then just become a gentleman or aware of what is going on around you. Pick up the cigarette butt that's laying next to a dustbin. And then you'll realize, okay, listen, I'm actually absorbing what's going on around me. How many people is wearing red today? It's something simple. Get on a tube. How many older people are standing up and you are sitting down? Get out of your seat and give the seat to somebody older than you. So it's just, it makes you feel better. And in the minute you get there, then you will get kind of a purpose. And if you start doing good, you help stopping evil to thrive. And even if it's just in your heart and in your mind, it's how you heal. And then nature heals you. Nature heals you, and good things heals you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was my last question, is that there's one message that you sort of want to sort of leave with listeners before we wrap up. What would that be?
It's about, I can be selfish and focus on like I say. I would say help spread the word, help bring our message of a holistic conservation model that's working in Namibia. Spread the word. It's working here. Come and see it. And maybe you can take something from it back home or to another country, or just a tiny bit of it can give you that kickstart that you need to start something of your own. I need the word to be spread out there to say, listen, this is a solution for the way we are living now. This could work to help stop what we are destroying totally.
I mean, are you optimistic? Because we all look around and, there's some great work being done, but at the same time, there's also a huge amount of damage being done. Like, are you optimistic that we can sort of overcome this part of our civilization, for lack of a better word?
I think this is like almost the start of Napuse, where you see this massive problem. But if you say, okay, we are too far down the line, we're not gonna, if we do this, it's not gonna change. And we're like, it's not gonna. Then you're also just sitting there on the sideline criticizing and saying, or you're turning a blind eye. I think even if we are so far down the line, we can still turn it around. Even if we can't turn it around totally, you can make a difference in a small scale. But you have to start somewhere. And this is where I think we need to not focus only on the problem. We have to be solution orientated, not complain constantly. Come up with solutions and be happy of what we have and change it. Change it and get it back.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Marlice. I always like to end with what would you like to plug? Obviously, I've got Nankuse. How do people support you? What would you like to plug?
How do they support us? Visit us. Visit us.
Yeah?
Follow
Come
us
visit you
on
in
social
Namibia.
media. Yeah, get to Namibia. Or if you can't, follow us on social media. Get involved. We've got so many campaigns on social media, on Instagram, and where we say, let's help with this and this. And you we've been around for so long, you can trust that the money is going to reach the community or what you donated for. We're transparent. It's open book. So, but I would say travel and visit. It's the best for yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and tell me your story and share all your experiences. It's been such a great conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of us and keep in touch. Thank you.
And that is a wrap on this week's episode. A huge thank you again to Marlice for sharing her story with us, and a thanks to you all as well for listening and watching. If you'd like to learn more about Marlice's work or find out how to visit or support Nankuse, you'll find all the links in the show notes or on our website, noordinarymonday.com. And as always, you can find extra clips and visuals from this episode across our socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course our No Ordinary Monday community page on Facebook, where you can join the conversation, ask questions, and share your thoughts about the show. Alright, so time for this week's listener story segment. If you'd like your story featured here, head to the website and click on the listener story page. You can record a short voice note or write it up using the form, or you can email hello, HELLO, at noordinarymonday.com with listener story in the subject line. This week's story is from an anonymous listener. I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to share with you guys. So they write, when I was 18, I was working at a department store in Sydney, right in the centre of town. One afternoon, a woman came to my register with an item marked for a third off. Lucky for her, when I scanned it, the till showed half off. But apparently she didn't see it that way. She frowned and told me that I'd made a mistake, insisting that she wanted the discount that was on the tag. I tried explaining that she was actually getting a bigger discount, half off instead of a third, but she shook her head and said, completely serious, no, 1/3 off is more than a half off because 3 is bigger than 2. At that point, I called my manager because I could feel myself about to burst out laughing. He came over and politely explained the maths again, and she argued with him as well. Meanwhile, I was standing behind my manager, hiding my face, tears streaming down from trying not to lose it. Somehow we made it through the transaction without breaking. The manager gave me a nod to finish the sale, and that's where I made my fatal mistake. I tried to ease the tension with some small talk. I smiled and asked what she did for a living. She looked me dead in the eye and said, I'm an accountant. I found that story so hilarious because it really reminded me of that old fast food hamburger story in America, I think it was, where one of the chains decided to introduce like a 1/3 pounder rather than a 1/4 pounder, trying to give their customers like basically more for the same price as McDonald's to compete. But actually they had the opposite effect because their sales crashed because all the customers thought a 1/3 pounder was far less than a 1/4 pounder. So yeah, just goes to show. Right, so for next week's episode, we are switching gears quite literally with Rory McDonald, a motorsport engineer who's helped design the engines that powered Mercedes' incredible Formula One streak. He takes us behind the scenes of one of the most intense moments in his Formula One career, the double engine failure at the Canadian Grand Prix in 2014. It's a crazy story that you don't want to miss, especially for any F1 fans out there, so hit follow or subscribe now so you don't miss out on this episode and more. And that's it for this week. If you enjoyed today's episode and feel like doing your nice deed for the day, please take a few seconds just to leave a 5-star rating review and tell a family member or friend. You have no idea how much it helps us. With your support, we can grow the show, attract more extraordinary guests, and inspire new listeners. This show is independently produced, hosted, and edited by me, Chris Barron. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great Monday, everyone, and we will see you next week.